On Interpretation, by Aristotle, translated by Octavius, Freire, Owen. Chapter 11. Of the composition and division of propositions. To affirm and deny one thing of many, or many of one, is not one affirmation, nor one negation, except that is some one thing which is manifested from the many. I mean by one, not if one name be given to many things, nor if one thing result from them, as man is perhaps animal, and biped, and mild, yet one thing results from these, but from white, and man, and to walk, one thing does not result, so that neither if a person affirm one certain thing of these is it one affirmation, but there is one articulate sound indeed, yet many affirmations, nor if he affirmed these things of one, would there be one affirmation, but in like manner many. If then dialectic interrogation be the seeking of an answer, either of a proposition, or of either part of a contradiction, but a proposition is a part of one contradiction, there would not be one answer to these, for neither is there one interrogation, not even if it be true. We have however spoken of these in the topics. At the same time it is evident that, what is it, is not a dialectic interrogation, for a choice should be given from the interrogation to enunciate this or that part of the contradiction, but the interrogator must besides define whether this particular thing or not this be a man. As however there are some things predicated as composites, so that there is one whole predicable, of those which are predicated separately, but others are not so, what is the difference? For in respect of man, we may truly and separately predicate animal, and biped, and these as one thing, also man, and white, and these as one thing, but not if he is a shoemaker, and a good man, is he therefore also a good shoemaker? For if, because each of these is true, both conjointly should be of necessity true, many absurdities would follow, for man and white are truly predicated of a man, so that the whole together may be, again if the thing is white, the whole conjointly is white, wherefore it will be a man white, even to infinity, again a musician white walking, and these frequently involved to infinity. Once more, if Socrates is Socrates, and man, Socrates is also Socrates man, and if he is man, and biped, he is also man biped, wherefore it is evident, if a man says conjunctions are simply produced, the result will be that he will utter many absurdities. Let us now show how they are to be placed. Of things predicated, and of those of which it happens to be predicated, whatever are accidentally enunciated, either in respect of the same, or the one of the other, these will not be one, as man is white, and a musician, but whiteness and music are not one thing, for both are accidents to the same thing. Neither if it be true to call what is white musical, yet at the same time will musical, white, be one thing, for what is white is musical, per accidens, so that white musical, will not be one thing, wherefore neither is a man said to be a good shoemaker singly, but also a biped animal, because these are not predicated of him per accidens. Moreover, neither are such things which are inherent in another to be added, hence neither is whiteness to be predicated repeatedly, nor is a man a man animal nor a man biped, since both animal and biped are inherent in man. Still it is true to assert it singly of some one, as that a certain man is a man, or that a certain white man is a white man, but this is not the case always. But when some opposition is in the adjunct which a contradiction follows, it is not true, but false, as to call a dead man a man, but when such is not inherent, it is true. Or when something contradictory is inherent, it is always not true, but when it is not inherent, it is not always true, as Homer is something, a poet, for instance, is he therefore, or is he not. For is predicated of Homer accidentally, since is predicated of Homer because he is a poet, but not per se or essentially. Wherefore, in whatever categories contrariety is not inherent, if definitions are asserted instead of nouns, and are essentially predicated and not accidentally, of these a particular thing may be truly and singly asserted, but non-being, because it is a matter of opinion, cannot truly be called a certain thing, for the opinion of it is, not that it is, but that it is not. Chapter 12. On modal proposition. These things then being determined, let us consider how the affirmations and negations of the possible and impossible to be subsist with reference to each other, also of the contingent and the non-contingent, and of the impossible and necessary, since this has some doubtful points. For if among the complex those contradictions are mutually opposed which are arranged according to the verb to be and not to be, as for instance the negation to be a man is not to be a man, not this to be not a man, and the negation of to be a white man is not to be a white man, and not this to be not a white man, since if affirmation or negation be true of every thing, it will be true to say that wood is not a white man, if this be so in those things to which the verb to be is not added, that which is asserted instead of the verb to be will produce the same thing. For example, the negation of a man walks will not be non-man walks, but a man does not walk, for there is no difference in saying that a man walks, or that a man is walking, so that if this is everywhere the case, the negation of it is possible to be will be it is possible not to be, and not it is not possible to be. But it appears that it is possible for the same thing both to be and not to be, for everything which may possibly be cut, or may possibly walk, may also possibly not be cut, and not walk, and the reason is, that everything which is thus possible does not always energize, so that negation will also belong to it, for that which is capable of walking may not walk, and the visible may not be seen. Still, however, it is impossible that opposite affirmations and negations should be true of the same thing, wherefore the negation of It is possible to be, is not, it is possible not to be. Now it results from this that we either at the same time affirm and deny the same thing of the same, or that the affirmations and negations are not made according to the additions to be, or not to be. If therefore that be impossible, this will be to be taken, wherefore the negation of it is possible to be is it is not possible to be, but not it is possible not to be. Now there is the same reasoning also about the being contingent, for the negation of this is not to be contingent, and in like manner as to the rest, for example the necessary and impossible, since as in those it happens that to be and not to be are additions, but whiteness and man are subjects, so here to be and not to be become as subjects, but to be possible and to be contingent are additions which determine the true and false in the enunciations, to be possible and to be not possible, similarly as in those to be and not to be. But of it is possible not to be the negation is not it is not possible to be but it is not possible not to be, and of it is possible to be the negation is not it is possible not to be but it is not possible to be. Wherefore it is possible to be and it is possible not to be will appear to follow each other, for it is the same thing to be possible to be and not to be, since such things are not contradictories of each other, namely it is possible to be and it is possible not to be, but it is possible to be and it is not possible to be are never true of the same thing at the same time, for they are opposed, neither at least are it is possible not to be and it is not possible not to be ever true at the same time of the same thing. Likewise of it is necessary to be the negation is not it is necessary not to be but this it is not necessary to be, and of it is necessary not to be the negation is this it is not necessary not to be. Again of it is impossible to be the negation is not it is impossible not to be but it is not impossible to be, and of it is impossible not to be the negation is it is not impossible not to be. In fact universally, as we have said, to be and not to be we must necessarily regard as subjects, but those things which produce affirmation and negation we must connect with to be and not to be. We ought also to consider these as opposite affirmations and negations, possible, impossible, contingent, non-contingent, impossible, not impossible, necessary, not necessary, true, not true. Chapter 13. Of the sequences of modal propositions. The consequences are rightly placed thus: it happens to be follows it is possible to be and this reciprocates with that also it is not impossible to be and it is not necessary to be but it is not necessary not to be, and it is not impossible not to be, follow, it is possible not to be, and it may happen not to be, and it is necessary not to be, and it is impossible not to be, follow, it is not possible to be, and it does not happen to be, but it is necessary to be, and also it is impossible not to be, follow, it is not possible not to be, and it is not contingent not to be. What we say, however, may be seen from the following description. 1. It is possible to be, it may happen to be, it is not impossible to be, it is not necessary to be. 2. It is possible not to be, it may happen not to be, it is not impossible not to be, it is not necessary not to be. 3. It is not possible to be, it may not happen to be, it is impossible to be, it is necessary not to be. 4. It is not possible not to be, it may happen not to be, it is impossible not to be, it is necessary to be. Therefore the impossible and the not impossible follow contradictorily the contingent, and the possible and the non-contingent, and the not possible and vice versa. For the negation of the impossible, namely, it is not impossible to be, follows, it is possible to be, but affirmation follows negation, for it is impossible to be, follows, it is not possible to be, since it is impossible to be, is affirmation, but it is not impossible to be, is negation. Let us next see how it is with necessary matter, now it is evident that it does not subsist thus, but contraries follow, and contradictories are placed separately, for it is not necessary to be, is not the negation of it is necessary not to be, since both may possibly be true of the same thing, as that which necessarily is not did not of necessity be. But the reason why the necessary follows not, in like manner, other propositions, is that the impossible being enunciated contrarily to the necessary signifies the same thing, for what it is impossible should exist must not of necessity be, but not be, and what is impossible should not be, this must of necessity be, so that if these similarly follow the possible and the not possible, these do so in a contrary mode, since the necessary and the impossible do not signify the same thing, but as we have said, vice versa. Or is it impossible that the contradictories of the necessary should be thus disposed? For what is necessary to be is possible to be, since if not, negation would follow, as it is necessary either to affirm or deny, so that if it is not possible to be, it is impossible to be, wherefore it would be impossible for that to be which necessarily is, which is absurd. But the enunciation, it is not impossible to be, follows the other, it is possible to be, which again is followed by, it is not necessary to be, whence it happens that what necessarily exists does not necessarily exist, which is absurd. But again, neither does it is necessary to be follow it is possible to be, nor does the proposition it is necessary not to be, for to that both may occur, but whichever of these is true, those will be no longer true, for at one and the same time it is possible to be and not to be, but if it is necessary either to be or not to be, both will not be possible. It remains therefore that it is not necessary not to be follows it is possible to be . For this is also true in respect of what is necessary to be, since this becomes the contradiction of that proposition which follows, viz. It is not possible to be as it is impossible to be and it is necessary not to be follow that of which the negation is it is not necessary not to be . Wherefore these contradictions follow according to the above mentioned mode, and nothing absurd results when they are thus disposed. Still it may be doubted whether it is possible to be follows it is necessary to be , for if it does not follow, the contradiction will be consequent, namely, it is not possible to be , and if a man should deny this to be a contradiction, it will be necessary to call it is possible not to be a contradiction, both which are false in respect of necessary matter. Nay, on the contrary, it appears to be possible that the same thing should be cut and not be cut should be and not be , so that what necessarily is may happen not to be , which is false. Nevertheless it is evident that not every thing which can be and can walk is capable also of the opposites, for in some cases this is not true. In the first place, in those things which are potent irrationally, as fire is calorific and has irrational power. Rational powers then are those of many things and of the contraries, but not all irrational powers, for as we have said, fire cannot heat and not heat, nor such other things as always energize. Yet even some irrational powers can at the same time receive opposites, but this has been stated by us, because not every power is susceptible of contraries, not even such as are predicated according to the same species. Moreover, some powers are equivocal, for the possible is not predicated simply, but one thing is called so because it is true, as being in an energy, as it is possible for a man to walk because he walks, and in short, a thing is possible to be, because that is already in energy which is said to be possible. On the other hand, another thing is said to be possible because it may be in energy, and it is possible to walk, because a man may walk. Now this power exists in movable natures only, but that in immovable. But with respect to both, it is true to say that it is not impossible to walk or to be, and that a man is now walking and energizing, and has the power to walk. Hence it is not true to predicate that which is thus possible in respect of necessary matter simply, but the other is true. Wherefore, since the universal follows the particular to be able to be, but not all ability follows that which is of necessity, and indeed the necessary and the non-necessary may perhaps be the principle of the existence or of the non-existence of all things, and we should consider other things as consequent upon these. Hence from what we have stated, it is clear that whatever exists of necessity is in energy, so that if eternal natures are prior in existence, energy also is prior to power, and some things, as the first substances, are energies without power, but others with power, namely, those which are prior by nature, but posterior in time. Lastly, there are some which are never energies, but are capacities only. Chapter 14. Of contrary propositions. But whether is affirmation contrary to negation, or affirmation to affirmation? And is the sentence which says, every man is just, contrary to the one, no man is just, or the sentence, every man is just, to, every man is unjust, as Callias is just, Callias is not just, Callias is unjust, which of these are contraries? For if things in the voice follow those which exist in the intellect, but there the opinion of a contrary is contrary, as for instance that every man is just is contrary to every man is unjust, it is necessary that affirmations also in the voice should subsist in the same manner. But if there the opinion of a contrary be not contrary, neither will affirmation be contrary to affirmation, but the before named negation. Hence it must be considered what false opinion is contrary to the true opinion, whether that of negation, or that which opines it to be the contrary. I mean in this way, there is a certain true opinion of good, that it is good, but another false opinion, that it is not good, lastly a third, that it is evil. Which of these therefore is contrary to the true opinion? And if there is one, according to which is it contrary? If then a man should fancy contrary opinions to be defined by this, that they are of contraries, it would be erroneous, for of good that it is good, and of evil that it is evil, there is perhaps the same opinion, and it is true, whether there be many opinions or one, but these are contraries, yet not from their being of contraries are they contraries, but rather from their subsisting in a contrary manner. If then there is an opinion of good that it is good, but another that it is not good, and there is also something else which is neither inherent, nor can be in good, we cannot admit any contrary of the rest, neither such opinions as imagine the non-inherent to be inherent, nor the inherent to be non-inherent, for both are infinite, both as many as imagine the non-inherent to be inherent, and the inherent to be non-inherent, but in those things in which there is deception, therein we admit contraries, and these are from which there are generations, generations however are from opposites, wherefore deceptions also. If then good is good and not evil, and the one is essential, but the other accidental, for it is accidental to it not to be evil, and of everything the opinion is more true and false which is essential, if the true be assumed, the opinion that good is not good is false in respect of that which is essentially inherent, but the opinion that it is evil is false of that which is from accident, so that the opinion of the negation of good would be more false than the opinion of the contrary. He is however especially deceived about everything who holds a contrary opinion, for contraries belong to things which are the most diverse about the same thing. If then one of these is contrary, but the opinion of the negation is more contrary, it is evident that this itself will be truly contrary. But the opinion that the good is evil is complex, for it is necessary perhaps that the same man should suppose good not good. Once more, if it is requisite for the like to occur in other things, it may seem to have been well said in this case also. For the opposition of negation is either everywhere or nowhere, but whatever things have no contraries, of these the opposite to the true opinion is false, as he is mistaken who fancies a man, not a man. If then these negations are contrary, the other opinions also of negation are. Besides, it is the same as to the opinion of good that it is good, and of what is not good, that it is not good, and also the opinion of good, that it is not good, and of what is not good, that it is good. To the opinion then of the not good, that it is not good, which is true, what will be the contrary? Certainly not that which says that it is evil, since it may at one and the same time be true, but truth is never contrary to truth, for whatever is not good is evil, so that it will happen that these opinions shall be at one and the same time true, nor again will that opinion that it is not evil be the contrary, for that is also true, and these may exist at the same time, wherefore the opinion of what is not good, that it is good, remains as a contrary to the opinion of what is not good, that it is not good, and this will be false, so that the opinion of good, that it is not good, will be the contrary to that of what is good, that it is good. That there will be no difference though we should propose universal affirmation is evident, for universal negation will be the contrary, as for instance, to the opinion which supposes every thing good to be good, that nothing of good things is good, will be the contrary opinion. For the opinion of good that it is good, if good be universal, is the same with that which opines that whatever is good, and this differs in no respect from the opinion that everything which is good, and the like takes place as to that which is not good, so that if this be the case in opinion, and affirmations and negations in the voice are symbols of conceptions in the soul, it is clear that the universal negation, which is about the same thing, is contrary to affirmation. For instance, to everything good is good, or that every man is good, the negation is contrary that nothing or no man is good, but this that not everything or not every man is good, is opposed contradictorily. It is however evident that true opinion can neither possibly be contrary to true opinion, nor true negation to true negation, for those are contraries which subsist about opposites, but about the same things the same may be verified, but contraries cannot possibly be inherent in the same thing at one and the same time. End of On Interpretation by Aristotle, translated by Octavius, Freire, Owen. Recording in memory of Mitchell Edwards.